Hello, everybody. This is Radio Entrepreneurs, and my name is Jeffrey Davis. And I want to thank our hosts. We are at the firm of Gray 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 in, I think it's Canton, Mass. And
Canton, Massachusetts, our worldwide headquarters.
Worldwide headquarters, and that was the one, the only, Rich Hirschen, my co-host for this series of segments. Hi, Rich.
How you doing, Jeffrey?
Good, thank you. Back to work, or you didn't take the summer off, did you?
No, working all summer, helping our clients.
Yeah, always helping people to organize their businesses. Well, our next guest, a topic that I always like, it's around security, but is Bobby Garrett, IT Director at Gray Gray Gray. Welcome, Bobby.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure.
You're welcome.
Tell us about your practice, because it is an area that I find particularly useful, and it's something that's always in the news.
So Gray 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 is getting into the cybersecurity space by offering our clients and any new clients different services in the cyberspace, like penetration testing, vulnerability scanning, social engineering education, phishing education, incident response, all those different areas that are very important to business.
And what are you seeing? You know, you hear about cybersecurity all the time in the paper and news articles of different companies being hacked. What are you seeing out there as some of the biggest cyber threats these days?
So there have been many breaches, and they've all been in the news, and they've all been publicized very well. So what we see is trends. Cybersecurity or cyber crime is a big business. You know, Cyber Ventures estimated that cyber damage is going to reach $6 trillion by 2021. Anytime there's that kind of revenue involved in something, it's going to be prolific and out there. So what we're seeing is different things like hackers trying to take over your computers to generate Bitcoin. That was a trend for a while. Now we're seeing trends back to ransomware, where a person clicks on a link in an email, and the next thing you know, your computer is being encrypted. And if you're on a network, that encryption starts to process across the network and encrypt your other computers, and then you're being held ransom. So you get an email with a request for Bitcoin, so because it's untraceable. So there's a lot of that kind of activity going on out there.
It's some scary stuff that you see.
So we gotta get in the Wayback Machine and get some sense of your background, how you evolved into this position, because this is not something you can just go into. You can't just be a programmer. You have to have a lot of knowledge in this area.
So typically, in my case, I started in the military. I was in the Navy for 10 years in the electronic warfare space and intelligence as an intel photographer. There was a lot of this kind of activity going on in third world states, because after communism had fallen, there needed to be some way to generate revenue. So we started seeing a ton of viruses coming out of countries like Albania and things like that had lost their funding from the Soviet bloc. That has evolved. You know, it used to be that hackers would try to get into different computer systems just to prove that they could do it and build their reputation. A lot of folks like Kevin Mitnick, who's now a white hat hacker for Nobi, was big into the telephone space. They'd hack into telephone switches and try to make long distance calls for free. So it keeps evolving over the years. But then there was a big focus on revenue generation. So you started seeing companies being taken ransom, and then the Bitcoin generation piece. And now it's just become a huge revenue stream.
Is this the domain of just large companies that they have to watch over this, or is this small companies too have to be careful?
An average person who has email in business can receive up 7 spam emails a week. Doesn't matter what size your business is. It could be a small business, one-man band. It could be a multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar organization. Some of the companies I've worked for in the past have experienced this kind of activity, and these have been, $30 and $40 billion companies. So it doesn't matter what size your business is.
So knowing that these cyber crimes will attack anyone, any size business, any company, what are some things that companies can do or should be doing to try to mitigate this risk?
So I'm a technologist. I spend a lot of time in systems. We implement safeguards, antivirus applications, network monitoring applications, all of those different systems to try to protect the companies that we work for. When it comes down to the end, it's all of that can be circumvented by a single click in an email by an end user. So what I start off right away is talking to company owners and CEOs about educating and building awareness for their organization through training and different things like this, presentations and such, so that their users understand the threat and that can be the first line of defense. And that absolutely is forefront in the protection of your company. Your end users need to understand what a spam email is, how to tell what that email is, how to tell what a spam email is, and how to notify IT that they got this email and not to click, because all of the systems that we put in place can be circumvented by a single click.
So how do you implement such a program? I mean, how do you train the workforce to know what's a good email, what's not a good email?
So first you need policy in place. You need to mandate that there is a training policy, that you have to take mandatory training. It needs to be funded. So companies need to have a security budget in place. You need to find a company. There are many online web-based companies that provide this kind of training, and it can provide value add through other kinds of training like HIPAA and HR, different trainings and things like that, so that you can see a better value process from that. But I implement here at Gray Gray Gray, we have a training plan where they get, all the end users are required to take an initial 45-minute training in cybersecurity. Then monthly after that, they take a 10-minute training, and their test involved. And then what I do just to follow up with that is I send out my own phish test, and I watch and see who clicks on those emails, because no matter how much training you provide, different people take training different ways. They can read, or they need hands-on training. But if I see someone who's a clicker, what we classify them as a clicker, then I go and remediate them personally, so that I show them what they should be looking for and what the example of the email they fell for, so that I have a sense of all of the end users in the organization and what the potential risk is.
I think focusing on the clickers is a good idea, because everybody is getting spam, and you want to make sure people are discriminating before they're clicking.
Misspellings And the emails that they're getting now are not the old emails where you could initially tell right away through misspellings or poor grammar and things like that. The hackers have evolved these emails now so they look so good, you think that it was a regular email in the daily course of business.
I just assume now, if I don't know you, I don't want to read it. They'll get to me in another manner.
Absolutely. If you're not expecting the email, if you're not expecting the file that's embedded in the email, if you can't pick up the phone and call and verbally have a confirmation that email came to you for this specific reason, then you should immediately be suspect of it and not interact with it.
And I think that's a key point. Jeff, you mentioned if you get an email from someone you don't know, I've received here emails that are supposedly from someone I do know. It looks like an email from someone I do know, and it turns out to be a spam email. So, we have a policy that if you're not expecting the email and you get it, you need to call and confirm that it was actually sent. So I think it's such a major problem, and it's so unfortunate that this is the world that we're living in. But, the training that Bobby's doing is excellent and something that all companies should really consider.
We've been speaking with Bobby Garrett, IT Director at Gray Gray Gray, with Rich Hirschen, my co-host. Bobby, if somebody was looking for you at Gray Gray Gray, wanted to know a lot more about cybersecurity and how they could protect their organizations, because once an organization goes down, it could destroy an organization. I think it's an important topic. How would they find you?
So they can reach me via email. So my email address is bgarrett with 2 R's and 2 T's at gggcpas.com, or call me directly, 781-493-3212.
And I want to thank you, too. You're going to be the next speaker at the Radio Entrepreneurs Cafe, so we look forward to that as well.
Thank you so much.
So just a little preview of Bobby Day here at the Radio Entrepreneurs
Bobby
Show.
Day. Is that what you call it here?
That's what Bobby came up with. That
Bobby.
name.
It's Bobby came up with that name.
It's Bobby's world.
It's Bobby's world. Well, nice having you on the show. We hope to have you on again, and we're going to take a break. Remind everybody this is Radio Entrepreneurs.